Good afternoon, folks. It's your old boy Colby Evans here, back with another edition of the ARCA Racing Podcast. It is great to be back here on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon where we saw a complete, well, I'll call it a complete enjoyable crap show of a race on Sunday night. Now, many people may not even have realized there was a race tonight because the time slot that they had done that ARCA race on Sunday night was unfortunately during the Southern 500. Luckily, though, there was a free track pass code to where if you had a computer, you could actually stream the race on your computer while watching the Southern 500. And boy, did that really save me because I did not want to miss the 500, but I also did not want to miss this ARCA race. As I said before, welcome you guys back to the show. It is great to be back. Again, like I said, always the point of this podcast is to get the ARCA name out there, a series that I love so much. I love participating in it, whether I'm crewing or spotting or over the wall, anything like that, or I'm just a fan watching on TV. I love this series so much. And I feel like definitely went down, but, you can't really change what it is today. I'm just hoping that with this podcast, I can change some of the ways that people look on it and maybe give some people some different opinions that they didn't really think. So anyway, let's just get right into it. Duquoin, in my opinion, one of the better dirt tracks in actually the U.S. I think it's one heck of a dirt track, 1 mile, very big dirt track. I believe it was a former horse racing track, and it's just built for speed. Those ARCA cars fly around that track, even with restricted horsepower. Those cars fly around that track. But before we even get to practice, before we even get to qualifying, rain. Now, rain at a dirt track is obviously different. For any dirt fan, you guys know how this goes down. It rains, you got to prep the track, and it can take hours and hours to get the track fully ready. And from what I heard from insider knowledge, it rained for approximately 2 days at the racetrack very hard. And this was only a 1-day show. ARCA is not really made to be able to go an extra day. If needed, ARCA does sometimes go the next day, but usually with how much it really costs, they don't really like to do that. But needless to say, when they showed up this morning to the track, it was no condition at all to race. But, you have your time slots, you have your scheduled stuff. You got to try to make the best of it. And I'll give credit. They did exactly that. And to a certain extent, did great and also failed. Now, they tried their best to get the track ready, tried their best. And from what I saw in pictures and even a couple of practice videos, everything seemed fine. I had, while I was watching the truck race, I pulled up the practice live timing, and everything seemed fine with the lap times they were running. I like to compare it from the last race, what kind of lap times they're running, and they were a little slower. I didn't really think it was anything of it. Sometimes ARCA changes their horsepower in terms of what kind of plate they're going to run from race to race. But needless to say, pictures came out, found out that Kelikovsky, who was in the top 5 in practice, wrecked his car so bad that they actually had to withdraw from the field. And this was probably a guy who could have won the race. Will Kimmel, who really unfortunately his only shot to win is on the dirt tracks, crashed too. He had to go to a backup car, which was a cool red chassis car. And the guy who won practice, ARCA West Championship point leader Jesse Love, driving the 15 for Venerini, crashed on his last lap. I think he ran over a piece of metal in the track or something. That just tells you this track was not prepped well. They tried their best, though. And yeah, even the guy who won practice was not allowed to qualify, unfortunately, to start 15th in the field. And then the funniest picture going around was on after Twitter. One of my buddies got a picture and posted online of Jesse's new front nose. They actually had a old Michael Self green 25 nose and they put that on the car. So you got a red, white, and blue car with a green nose. And that is just so ARCA. And it's why I love this series so much. And I think that's one thing that people will never be able to take away from me. It's just why I love this series so much. Needless to say, though, we'll get into it later. The night did not really get better for Jesse. Anyways, another shocker, not a shocker, of course, Landon Lewis. Landon Lewis was fast. Now, he ran at Springfield, but didn't actually show that much speed. In terms of the competitive cars that could contend for the win, Landon, I believe, finished 7th in that race. Did not show much speed there. But in reality, it could have been that they were more prepping for this race because he showed a lot of speed. He was 6th fastest and only just under 2 seconds off the lead, which again, going based off of practice, they were going way slower. The track was not ready. You could be 2 seconds off, and then by the time qualifying comes with all that track time, be way faster. And that's exactly what happened to Landon Lewis, as he was he only ran a 38.02 in practice, but yet when it was time to go out and qualify, kid just like turned it up a notch and went a 34.23. I mean, that's almost 4 seconds faster that kid picked up. And keep you in mind, I'm 20 years old. I feel old when I realize that the kid is 15. Yes, this Landon Lewis kid is 15 years old. And he is swinging a 3,400-pound race car around a 1-mile dirt track. If that doesn't make us 18, 19-year-old guys who are racing fans feel old, I don't know what will. You know, obviously it'd be the dream, but I have nowhere near that kind of money. Anyway, he only won by a bit. Other dirt ringer, it was great to see him back after a tough run at Springfield. Ryan Unzinger returned. He was 2nd. And then you got the 2 championship contenders. We had Corey Hyman 3rd and Ty Gibbs in 4th. And then in 5th, we had arguably one of my favorite parts of this whole race. Ken Schrader, I think is he 66 now? He's either 65 or 66 years old, and he is still going nonstop. This guy's a machine at almost age 70. And he did a great job, and this was a full-fledged Andy Hillenberg car, and he qualified at P5 and would have a very solid night too. I think it just still came down to the fact that although Andy brings a great car to the track, when it comes to what's under the hood, unfortunately, Venturini and Gibbs will always beat him there. And it's a shame because if Andy could just get one of those good motors, you know his cars, even with any driver, would be right up there challenging for that win. Obviously, we had some starting parks in this race. You know, we don't usually get many cars for the dirt races anymore, mainly because it's hard for these ARCA teams. In this nowadays and age with the composite bodies, you pretty much have to have a car set aside for dirt. Even Gibbs and Venturini had separate cars set aside for dirt. So for the lower budget teams, they really didn't. I believe Owen Smith. Our starting parks in this race were Wayne Peterson, Brad Smith, and Owen Smith. Wayne, ironically enough, brought his plate car. Yes. For the people who watched the Daytona and Talladega ARCA races, the car that Con Nicolopoulos ran in that race ran at a dirt track. And that's why we just cannot stop loving Wayne Peterson. Taking a plate car to a dirt track. Brad Smith, and then, of course, Owen Smith, not related, but 2 really cool guys. So we only had 13 cars running the whole race. And, you know, again, yeah, that's not good, but that's why I feel like, sadly, these dirt races will eventually go away in ARCA because the lack of cars. I mean, I remember a couple years ago they canceled the race because we only had like 9 cars. I think if it came down to that, we probably would actually cancel the race. And I wouldn't necessarily like that because, like me, A lot of people love these dirt races, but maybe it's actually time to choose just one and replace it with another Midwest or East Coast race. And supposedly, speaking of the East Coast, I don't know if I mentioned this on last week's show, but there have been a lot of talks that the East Series, because of the lower car counts, may merge into the big series next year. Now, that's not confirmed yet. That's just a rumor right now, so I don't want to confirm anything, but it's just a rumor. I think personally that would be a great idea. And what I also want to see come back is, if you want to bring the West Series into a bigger level, we need to do what we did with the K&N Series back in the late 2000s and pretty much up till about 2019. We need to have the East, West, Main Series all come together and have what the K&N Series used to have back in that day. And we'd probably get a 35 plus 40 car field for that race. I think that'd be absolutely awesome. 7/8 mile, you got the West Series, you got the East Series, and the Main Series all mixed together, almost 40 cars. I think that would be a heck of a race. And I really hope ARCA does that next year. Because for the West teams, excuse me, for the West teams, I mean, it's really, when you think about it, let's say you're in, I don't know, California. From California to Iowa, it really ain't that much longer than if you're going from, say, North Carolina to Iowa. It really isn't that much longer. What, 3 or 4 hours? It really ain't that much longer. I just think it'd be really good, and I think it would help the West Series get some more exposure, because this would be one of the few West races that would actually be broadcasted on TV. You'd get those names, you get the sponsors. I think it'd make them all way happier. But anyway, that's just my idea, and we kind of got a little sidetracked on that. I just want to keep mentioning that because I hope we see that on the 2022 schedules for the 3 series. Then, of course, so we had Zachary Tinkle, the lovable kid, man. You just meet Zachary Tinkle, and he melts your heart because he's just he's real. He's got no gimmick about him. He doesn't have, he doesn't like to portray like a tough guy. He doesn't like to portray an intimidating guy. He's a driver that you could walk up into the garage as a fan and have a 30-minute conversation like nothing, because he's a chill, great kid. And he really did a great job with Richmond Club tonight. Even ran as high as 7th, I think, before, unfortunately, like other cars, the dirt took its toll on them tonight. So let's get into the race, shall we? Let's get into this race. Now, again, this weekend we did not have Rev Racing and we did not have Thad Moffitt. Like they said on the broadcast, this was one of a couple of races that Thad, although running 3rd in the championship, did not have sold. I believe it was at Springfield. It was this race at Duquoin, and then I believe they also said at Salem. He doesn't have those 3 races sold yet. I believe he will be at Bristol, and then he will be at Kansas. So I'm interested to see if they will have him run Bristol or not. Anyway, they put Taylor Gray in the 46, and we'll get to him later because, in my opinion, Taylor Gray kind of stole the show in this race. So yeah, race started off. Like I said, we only had 15 start because of Kelly having to withdraw. Wayne, I thought he just ran the pace laps and then pulled in at the green, but turns out, some of my friends pointed out, Wayne did start the race. He was just so slow. Like, I think the writing was on the wall. Everyone kind of knew what was going to happen. And Wayne, technically, he said he didn't complete a lap, but he came all the way around. It's just where the pit road is beginning. Wayne pulls in, but he doesn't actually cross the line. But it was not a did not start. He did start the race. And even early in the race, if you were running outside of probably third or fourth, your car was getting torn up. And the first side of this was the 20 of Corey Heim, when his right front was absolutely killed. His splitter skirt was pretty much gone on the right side. And part of his upper front panel was starting to rip away, and composite bodies on the dirt, not a good mix at all. It was tearing that car apart, and it didn't stop with just Corey. By the time the first caution came out on lap 15, they would zoom in on a lot of the cars, and Lewis had damage, Taylor Gray had damage, even Gibbs had damage, Schrader's splitter skirt was all messed up. Basically, all splitter skirts kind of died in this race. They got the heck beaten out of them. Yeah. So as I said, Landon Lewis, who, again, this was actually not Rev Racing, though. So let's clear this up. Just like it was back in Springfield, although the 46 team remained the same, just with a different driver, this was a Toyota ran by Mark Rette, who actually runs the Max Gutierrez ARCA team as well. So this was a deal, two-race deal. Basically, it was the Rev Racing font, and Max Siegel was listed as the owner, just so the two could keep itself high in the owner points. But again, the same reason as I believe Rev Racing just doesn't have the money right now to bring a dirt car. They don't have the money for it, so don't waste their money on it. And really, after watching this race, they made the smartest decision possible. They really did. But Landon, man, he was just tearing it up out there. He could fling that back end out there. It almost shocked me how he didn't wreck it. But when you're working with Ron Hornaday, you don't really ever screw up. So like I said, Wayne, he didn't register a lap. And then surprising to me, Brad and Owen only ran 7 and 9 laps. But then after seeing the damage to all the cars in the field, I even got worried for Brad and Owen. I'm like, oh, God, did they get torn up that quickly? No. For all Brad Smith fans and the Owen Smith fans, their cars were not torn up. They just parked it early because they didn't, for a starting park, they didn't want to end up in a junkyard. So they were kind of the lucky ones. If anything, Brad and Owen were kind of the lucky ones out of the night. We still ran pretty uneventful for the first couple of accidents, and then came our first wreck. Now, I mentioned the 15 car of Jesse Love. His night just kept kind of just getting worse and worse and worse, mixed with the fact that his car looked absolutely hilarious with the green nose. He spun out. I think he actually got caught in some dirt, and it's kind of spun him out, and then the 46 just plowed him. And this created the funniest thing for Taylor because it bent his right front suspension. But on a dirt track, it really ain't going to hurt you that bad. As long as the wheel can still turn to the left, you're pretty much okay. But needless to say, they kind of just tore away a lot of sheet metal. Jesse, he kept going too, but he was a lot slower as well. And then by the first break, Corey Heim had actually started to have overheating issues. And unfortunately, we had our next retiree as Tony Bridinger, who was in her second dirt race of the season. 25 was sponsored by Hair Club. Good to see Hair Club extending their sponsorship programs from truck to Xfinity with different teams. Unfortunately, retired with an oil leak. D.L. Wilson, who had actually parked earlier in the race, came back out for a couple laps just to kind of pass the 25 for owner points and I think an extra $50 in purse money. And then, like I said, the end eventually came for Jesse Love. The end eventually came for Jesse Love. He, once again, car just overheated, and he could never get back going again. You can call it what it was, but Corey Heim had been having overheating issues and even came to pit road and lost like 8 laps. Like, I was surprised they were to get that car back out there. I thought they were just simply having the 15 come down just to help the 20, but it actually was reporting and 15 did lose a motor. But I kind of just thought, that was another game of team orders, and it could have been, but we don't need to go into huge speculation about that. After that, we just kind of had more retirees, mainly due to engine failures. Will Kimmel, Zachary Tinkle, and then eventually Corey Heim all pulled off with engine failures. So then you ask yourself, how many cars even finished this race if we only had 15 start? Well, the answer, 6. 6 cars finished this race. And to me, that's just the funniest part about this crap show. Lap after lap after lap. It's almost like the track would actually get worse. Because we had one of the debris cautions, we had to get part of a nose crush panel ripped, was stuck in the dirt. And by the second segment was over, about lap 70, every nose on even the leader was just destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And then the funniest part of all was Taylor Gray, who they had just completely ripped off the splitter skirt and lower nose. And then you could actually get a look at his front tires going in the wrong directions. And then, the funniest part of the whole thing was Taylor Gray, who was Taylor, you can say what you want him. He's crazy. He was wheeling the crap out of this car. Absolutely wheeling the crap out of it. To the point where it was even so, with a couple laps to go, he had a hole in the windshield because a piece of dirt had so hard flown through the windshield. This 46 car was legitimately falling apart, and it was hilarious. The suspension on that 46 car, I don't know how it stayed together. Lap after lap, that car would just fly into the turns and into the marbles. And then eventually he overdid it and hit the wall. It was so funny. Meanwhile, out of all this, the number 2 is just gone. Number 2 is just gone. Landon Lewis is dominating this race. He has led every lap. Ty Gibbs has gotten up to second, or battling for second with Ryan Unzinger. And there's just Ken Schrader riding around in 5th place. And even Tim Monroe, who was also a dirt experience, driving the 0-1. He was pretty slow the entire race. Kind of was just doing his own thing. He ended up finishing 6th, so a solid effort for him. Now, it looked like the race was over. I think even Landon had taken the white flag. But then, like I said, Taylor overdid it and spun the car. And, well, unfortunately, couldn't get it going, and the caution came out. Now, in ARCA, they don't stop the race. In ARCA, they actually do one-lap shootouts. Now, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. And honestly, for me, I'm like, this race is never going to end. And I thought either Gibbs or Unzinger was going to full send and wreck him. I was really hoping that wouldn't happen because I wanted to see somebody new win. And no, Lewis got a classic Ron Hornaday restart. Bring him down real slow and then just go like crap. Needless to say that the last lap still was full of excitement. Unzinger overshot turn 1. I think Gibbs, I don't know if Gibbs got into him, but Unzinger overshot turn 1. Fell back to 4th. Gibbs got up to 2nd, and Ken Schrader got up to 3rd. And that's how they would come across and take the checkered flag. Landon Lewis, lap to lap, flag to flag, 104 laps, wins the race. Great to see a new kid win, especially for a team like Rette, who you don't really see full-time in anything anymore. They're just kind of barely scraping by with paid drivers. So good to see. Obviously good to see. Ty Gibbs finishes 2nd. Although Corey Heim did finish 7th, even with all of his issues. Still another big point gap, and I think Bristol's pretty much the last chance that Corey has to really not only gain points, but pass him. And that probably won't happen because Gibbs is probably going to overtake him even more at Bristol. I bet Gibbs will be very, very hard to beat. But like I said, Ken Schrader, what else can you say? For Andy Hillenberg, it was a pretty uneventful race. All of his cars pretty much made it through unscathed, I think. But a 3rd and a 6th for Fast Track. I'm happy with. We're all happy with that. That's for sure. But it was a great to see Landon Lewis win. And then I think the funniest line by the commentators, and he's got to be back in school on Tuesday for 10th grade. It just makes me feel old. 10th grader wins an ARCA race, and I'm 20, and I'm sitting here. Oh, it was hilarious. But anyway, that was kind of the race recap. I thought it was a good race. Even it was only 90 minutes long. If you haven't watched it yet and you were watching the Southern 500, I hope it's on YouTube so you guys can go back. And if you guys are not entertained by that 46 car, I know the driver behind the wheel is absolutely insane and doesn't have any idea what he's doing most of the time. But man, when he's driving insane, it is hilarious to watch. Even if he pretty much totaled the 46 car without actually wrecking it. He just wrecked it basically based on the track. And although I commend ARCA for wanting to get everything done, scheduled, even Venturini came out saying, these track conditions are an absolute joke. And I have to say, I agree. Every car in the field was torn up. I think even Brad might have gotten some damage, some dirt damage. Every car was torn up. It was a crap show, but a good crap show. Like you got the bad crap shows, and then you got the great crap shows. And I think this is what it was. And it was great to see a new winner. If you find this race on YouTube and you got 90 minutes, go out and watch this race, and you will see why I'm praising it. It is a great crap show. The only thing that could have made this better is if we had 20 more cars out there. 36 of those cars flying in that mud, destroying each other. For real. That is what made ARCA so much fun to watch, and that's what I'm hoping in the future we can return to in the future. Obviously, our point standings coming out of this race, like I said, heavily pretty much decided now. Ty Gibbs. Corey Heim is chasing Ty Gibbs. 16 points, which may not seem like a lot, but in ARCA standards, especially with how the fields are, it's going to be really, really tough for Corey to make that up. And that's why I feel like Bristol, which we were expecting possibly a 30-car field, Bristol's pretty much his only shot to either gain points and maybe even just overtake him. Because I expect maybe about a 20-car field for Salem, and then hopefully a 25-car field, 25-plus car field for when I go to Kansas in October for the championship race. But going to the standings, yeah. So 16 points, back to second. And then with Sanchez and Moffitt missing the 2 races, they're way just unbelievably far behind now. Our old boy Brad Smith still sitting in 5th place with a comfortable 93-point lead over 6th place. D.L. Wilson, yes, D.L. Wilson for Andy Hillenberg has actually run 12 races this season and is sitting 6th in the points. So how about that? You got Brad Smith and a fast track driver, 5th and 6th in the driver points. Gotta love it. Gotta love ARCA. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of that. There is no main series ARCA race this weekend, though. The next one is Bristol. I think it's a good idea because you give a lot of these teams a chance to get the cars back to the shop, clean out the trailers, clean out the cars, get all the dirt off, make them look all pretty again, and then get your short track car ready for some old beating and banging at Bristol where, like I said, we will probably have close to a 30-car field with the E-Series and their championship race where Sammy Smith has pretty much clinched the championship. All he has to do is start the race and run better than about 20th. But that's not all. That's not the end of this because the West Series, ever since Irwindale is back. And speaking of the West Series, I am also happy to announce some special news for, in my opinion, one of the hardest working people in the garage and who I was thankful enough to meet. I'm going to pull this up real quick. Well, let's see here. This is live TV, folks. Got to bear with me for a second as I got to find this online. All right, we are getting there. Amber Slagel. She actually works for Bruce Cook Racing / MMI Motorsports, kind of a combination team effort. But she works as the crew chief for the 42 car. Met her at Iowa. Very nice lady and a real badass when it comes to the mechanical sides. And it's great to announce that she is actually returning to the ARCA race. ARCA Series West at the Bullring. Now, hopefully this goes better than her first race. And by that means I just hope she finishes better. But it's great to see hard work pay off. Absolutely hard work pay off. I want to see this woman succeed because not only is she a mechanic, she's not your typical, she's not an Instagram model. She's not, she's not there because of sponsorships. She is in that 17 car at the Bullring because she works her ass off. That I obviously can't say the word, but she works so hard. So I'm so happy for Amber, and I hope she does a great job at the Vegas Bullring. Really am proud of that. And another news for the West Series, they are back this weekend. For the first time since 2012, the West Series will return to the Portland Road Course, and I am honestly so excited for this. The Portland International Raceway Road Course is a beautiful road course. And I feel like it often gets overlooked because it's in Oregon. It's a long ways away. And I really wish that they would go there every year now. I hope it's on next year's schedule. And they will be there with IndyCar. It's kind of weird how IndyCar and ARCA always seem to have these weekends together, like they would have Iowa in the last couple years. We don't have the biggest field, obviously, mainly because it's West. But 18 cars. I don't see any starting parks in the field. I think everyone will pretty much run the full race. The only one I could see parking early is Bobby Hillis, but I believe he ran the full race at Sonoma, so I think he'll try to run this one too. The only infiltrator we really have is Taylor Gray, who is running for Gilliland, obviously. So long haul for David Gilliland this weekend. As one of their ARCA haulers will be going all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, all the way to Portland, Oregon. And that, if you thought the trip to Sonoma was rough, imagine doing that. Jesus. So whoever the hauler driver is on that 17 ARCA hauler, he better get a bonus. David Gillen, he better get a bonus. Obviously, we got our regulars in the field. Hopefully, love to see God, go back to that entry list. Would love to see Todd Souza get a win. His maiden win actually came at the Toledo Road Course back in 2008. So you could say he's kind of a road ringer, but he's just one of those guys. He does it himself. He gives it the best he can with the best budget he has, and he's still sitting fourth in points, and he's only 14 points out of it. It's just the problem is it's hard to beat those guys at Bill McAnally. Bill McAnally is basically the Joe Gibbs of the West Series, and Jesse Love and Cole Moore, two McAnally guys, currently lead the championship. Obviously, Jesse is leading by 11 points, but they pretty much hold the top two spots. And with over half the season down, it's going to be kind of hard to catch Jesse because even though, yes, it's only an 11-point lead, the endurance of these McAnally cars, it's just like the Gibbs cars. You rarely see them have problems in terms of engine, suspension. Never really see that break. They rarely wreck because they put good drivers in them. Jesse Love is a great driver. Cole Moore is a great driver. I think he's won every race on the BMR Academy list. Then you got the other full-timers, Todd Souza, Joey East, Bridget Burgess, Takuma Koga, Bobby Hillis, and Paul, I'm going to botch this again, Pedroncilli Jr. Hopefully I didn't botch that. But his father and son will be participating this weekend in the 31 and 33. I don't see a starting park. I could see it happening, but I hope we don't see a starting park. Also, some West news. Takuma Koga will be returning full-time next year in the West Series, I believe, for Jerry Pitts Racing. So that's good that we'll have the Japanese guy returning for another year. Anyway, though, I think it's going to be a fun race to watch. It's on Friday, and it's on Track Pass. I will put the code down in the description so that you guys can watch this race for free. It's free. The NASCAR Roots, you can watch it all for free. Take advantage of it. If you're not doing anything on Friday, you're out of school and you want something to watch, there's no race on, watch it. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. And you guys are going to see why the Portland Road Course really should never have left the schedule. Mainly, I just think it's the haul that really affects everyone. It's a long, long drive, but we'll just see how it goes. My pick for the race, personal pick, Todd Souza. My underdog pick is oh God, who would that be? Let's see. Look at that entry list a little closer. My underdog pick would probably also be Todd Souza. Obviously, the guys who will be cheering for, and I hope you guys cheer for them. Bridget, Caleb Costner, who is driving for Joe Nava. The two Pauls, Bobby Hillis, Todd Souza, and Takuma. Cheer for all of them, as I will be. And like I said, guys, I think if you got no time, watch this race. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I really hope that Portland does return next year. But yeah, the biggest thing is, will Jesse Love be able to extend his lead? Probably. But let's see here. So Jesse's going to be 16 next year, right? I don't know how old he is, but I think he's 16 this year. Could we see Jesse Love competing in the Truck Series next year, more than likely for Kyle Busch Motorsports? I could see it. This guy's spent a lot of time in ARCA. I could see him going full-time main ARCA for Venerini, and then I could also see him running part-time KBM for trucks. But yeah, I think that'd be a good place for Jesse. Jesse, he's aggressive, but when he needs to get the job done, he can. And but I mean, Portland's not even a really big road course. It's only 1.9 miles, which for a road course is actually fairly small. But it'll be interesting to see how that race goes. Hopefully Taylor doesn't wreck the field. That'd be nice. And I don't see any start and parks, but obviously if there is, check out the start and park account at Start and Park Car. And obviously I'll be right there to post it and get updated start and park point standings. Right now, Brad Smith does lead the start and park point standings, but I hope that changes because I really don't want to give the certificate to him as I'm working for him. Obviously, let's lead into our final thing. Brad Smith, obviously you guys have seen it all over my Twitter. I have started a GoFundMe. Now, this basically GoFundMe is for, like I said last week, I want to get this man a set of stickers. You know, I don't know if Brad Smith can even remember the last time that he started the race on a set of stickers. And I'm like, you know what? Crowdfunding has been a great thing for a lot of people. Why don't we give this a shot? If you want to support Brad Smith and Brad Smith Motorsports, the link's in the description. $1, $5, $10, or if you even want to donate $50, any donation is appreciated. And the goal is $2,000 to get the number 48 a set of stickers. Because, well, he deserves it. Brad Smith absolutely deserves it. Now, if we don't raise that all $2,000, no matter how much we get, we'll go straight to Brad Smith. But obviously the goal is to get a set of tires. And as I put in the description, as I put in the GoFundMe page, and I mean this, any person who donates, whether it be a person, whether it be another podcast, or a company themselves, will get their name personally written on the car by me. Every person will get a shout out online from me and Brad Smith. You will be riding with us on the car in that championship race, and knowing that you helped one of the best underdogs in ARCA get his best chance he ever had at finishing a race. Because although the tires don't really matter so much to us at Kansas, obviously having a set of stickers would allow us to be more competitive and maybe hang with a couple of cars in the back of the field. Because obviously, with the reports that Kansas might have a 25-car plus field, we would like to shoot for a top 20. And again, any support from you guys would be absolutely beneficial to everyone. Get your name on the car, get your plate, get your name, your company, your friends' friends, your friend's dog, anyone, get some exposure. Link is in the description. Anything would be appreciated. I'm also excited to announce I'm trying to expand this YouTube channel by creating something that I've also that I create an idea that I've heard, and I'm going to call it This Week in Racing History. Now, you might have heard that is because another YouTube channel does that similar, but they do it for wrestling. I love that idea. And I love the idea of going back in time and telling the stories of various racing history through that week. Now, this would cover ARCA, NASCAR, Formula One, and even IndyCar. It would be all types of racing, major moments that happened through that week, going as far back as the early 1900s and even maybe 1800s. I don't know yet. But I came up with the idea on my way to work this morning, and I really hope I can have the first episode maybe done by the end of the month. I'm not sure. But that's a new segment to this YouTube channel that I'm trying to add. I'm also trying to do some ARCA history videos. I really want to expand this YouTube channel because I want to get the name ARCA out there. As much promotion as ARCA does at the Menards stores, we need to get this series more promotion. So, I mean, like, I want to be doing history videos. We're going to be doing, like This Week in Racing History. And we're also going to be doing watch-alongs. Now, these watch-alongs are going to be a little different because I'm going to buy a gimmicked microphone that's not actually going to be working, wearing headphones that aren't plugged into anything, and I'm going to be your commentator. Because I can give you guys little tidbits and facts that the commentators wouldn't actually tell you. And we'll watch classic ARCA races like the 2008 finale at Toledo, the 2010 race where Danica made her debut, and the 2008 Talladega race at which saw just an absolute crash fest. And then the 1998 race where Adam Petty got his first win. I already got a huge list of races I want to do. And with your guys' support, like and subscribe. If you're a fan of ARCA, I'm trying to get this series on the track. I'm back on track is what I mean. I want this to work out so bad because my grandfather got me introduced to this series, and I've just loved it ever since. And I really, really hope that you guys are willing to join me on this great ride. And with that, that is the end of this show. Again, I thank you guys for joining in. Hope you guys, again, like, subscribe for more of this. I'm going to be expanding this channel. Go follow me at Start and Park Car for all the great content. I've been Colby Evans. I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. I will never stop telling you guys how much I love you and how much you guys mean to me and how this podcast really makes me feel better as a person. Anyways, like, subscribe. Bye.